Welcome back to the cryptoworld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, history is repeating for not only Bitcoin, but also for Ethereum, which I'll talk about in just a moment, alongside Solana, which is forming a new pattern that we need to pay attention to. So I'll be talking about that later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just giving you a really quick update here on the weekly Bitcoin chart, and in just a matter of hours from now, we have a new weekly candle close confirming, and if this weekly candle close confirms above 42,000, then technically that confirms the breakout above this level of resistance. And so in that case, the next significant level of resistance on the weekly chart is sitting at around 48 to 49,000, which is another Fibonacci level. And also, if we do end up seeing this weekly candle close confirm above 42K, confirming the breakout above 42K, then technically speaking, we could find some short-term support at around 42,000 in case we see a short-term pullback. But in a more bearish scenario, if we actually broke back below 42,000, then we also have this area of support sitting in between around 36,000 to 38,000, once again acting as support. But overall, in terms of the trend and momentum here on the larger timeframes, of course, on the weekly timeframe, we are still clearly looking bullish because we're still forming higher lows and higher highs, so the trend is bullish. But if you're zooming into the daily Bitcoin chart, of course, right now we still have that pending bearish divergence on the daily time frame with higher highs in the price and lower highs in the RSI. And at least as of right now, this is getting closer towards confirming because, of course, we are already seeing an initial pullback here in the RSI, which can help to confirm the lower high in place. And once again, as I've been saying recently on the channel, if this bearish divergence further confirms with a pullback here in the RSI, cementing that lower high in place, then we should be due to see a bit of a short-term cool-off over the next few weeks or so. And what I mean by a short-term cool-off is basically not as much bullish price action over the next 1 to 2 weeks, and instead we're likely going to see either a sideways consolidation, if not a pullback in the price of Bitcoin within the next 1 to 2 weeks, possibly over the next 3 weeks or so. But considering the fact that we don't have a lot of confirmation confirming the bearish divergence, at least as of right now on the daily chart, and considering the MACD is still looking bullish, and of course the price structure itself forming higher lows and higher highs is still technically bullish. Basically, even if this bearish divergence further confirms and we do end up seeing a sideways consolidation or pullback, that does not necessarily mean the end of the bullish trend, because obviously we can experience pullbacks within a bullish trend before heading higher. But even if we do end the short-term bullish trend just on the daily chart, for example, and we see more of a short-term bearish trend, even in that scenario, of course, we can still remain within the much larger bullish trend here on the weekly time frame, because already a few times this year we have seen some short-term bearish trends in the price of Bitcoin that have lasted for a couple of months, but these short-term bearish trends on the daily chart look like just minor pullbacks on the weekly chart that are occurring within the larger bullish trend. And so as always, it is important to understand the difference between the different time frames. So right now, once again, on the weekly chart, we are still very much looking bullish in terms of the trend, and the same thing can be said about the daily chart, at least for now. Technically, we have not yet broken the bullish trend on the daily time frame, the shorter term bullish trend. But if this bearish divergence further confirms, once again, that tells us we're due to see a bit of a break from that bullish trend here on the daily chart. And as for short-term resistance and also support, of course, we're still running into this Fibonacci extension acting as resistance here on the 6-hour Bitcoin chart, which is sitting at around 44.2K to 44.3K. And as I've said recently on the channel, if we actually confirm a breakout above around 44.3K, then in that case, the next short-term resistance that we need to pay attention to is sitting at around 45.7K. And as for short-term support, we do have some support at around 43,000, and below that, we have some more support back down here at around 41.8K to 42K. And just giving you a quick update on my Bitcoin long position, once again, as of right now, I still have that long position open since all the way back down here. And as I've also mentioned recently on the channel, of course, I did close a lot of that long position around the technical price targets for this previous ascending triangle pattern, but obviously I did keep some of that long position open as the price continued further to the upside. And obviously, as the price of Bitcoin is moving further to the upside, I'm moving my stop loss further into profits. And so essentially, if we end up seeing that reversal in the price of Bitcoin, that would just trigger my stop loss and exit me out of the trade automatically in profits. And if you want to take trades just like this, making a lot of easy money in crypto, then make sure to have an account ready to go so that you can take these trades trades on an exchange like Bybit or Bitflex. Because personally, I did take this trade over on Bybit, so I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit in the description down below and in the pinned comment. And in fact, if you use that link down below to make a Bybit account, you can claim up to a $30,000 deposit bonus, but without that link, it's only a few $100, so you might as well use that link. But unfortunately, you may not be able to access Bybit in certain countries, and so if that's the case, there is also Bitflex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC with Bitflex. And so I will also make sure to leave a link to Bitflex in the description down below and in the pinned comment, and if you use that link to make a Bitflex account, simply deposit $100 worth of crypto and to make one trade over on Bitflex, and that can get you 10 USDT completely for free. And so if you're trading crypto anyway, or if you're preparing to take the next trade, you might as well set up ready to go with one of those accounts. Once again, links down below for those extra bonuses. But anyway, zooming further into the shorter term, looking at the 4-hour Bitcoin chart, and as I said in my last video, we do have a small bearish divergence playing out right now. And so potentially Bitcoin right now is repeating history, because obviously we did have a previous bearish divergence back here on the 4-hour time frame. And as you can see, this resulted in a short-term pullback followed by a bit of a sideways consolidation before eventually continuing on with the bullish trend later on. And so once again, this bearish divergence is telling us that we're due to see a bit of a pause just in the immediate short term from that bullish trend, which means either some sideways price action or potentially a bit of a short-term pullback. But once again, this does not necessarily mean the reversal out of the bullish trend into a bearish trend, because we could just see a short-term cool-off before continuing the bullish trend later on. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, right now we do have some liquidity building up at around 43.4K to 43.5K. And so it's very likely that sometime soon in the short term, the price of Bitcoin will reach those levels once again at around 43,500. And also we do have some more liquidation levels just below that at closer towards 43,000. And once again, as I said earlier, we do have some short-term support at around 43,000 where the price could bounce at. And on top of that, once again, we do have this small bearish divergence now playing out on the 4-hour time frame. And so due to this bearish divergence on the 4-hour chart combined with the liquidation heat map showing some liquidation levels just slightly below the current price in the short term, basically it's very likely that potentially over the next 1 to 2 days or so, we could end up seeing a slight short-term pullback in the price of Bitcoin to hit some of those levels. But remember, it is important to understand the difference between the different time frames. So even though we could perhaps see a little bit of a pullback in the immediate short term, once again, on the larger time frames, we are still very much looking bullish in terms of the trend. And getting into the Ethereum part of this video, looking on the weekly time frame, and like I said, for the Bitcoin chart on the weekly time frame, we are still very much looking bullish here on the larger time frames, because obviously the price of ETH has already confirmed the breakout from this bullish ascending triangle pattern on the weekly chart, and on top of that, we're about to see another weekly candle close above this previous resistance, which was sitting at around 2150. And so despite what we see on smaller time frames, once again, we can see short-term pullbacks on smaller time frames, but despite that happening, we still have a technical price target here on the weekly time frame sitting at around $4,300. And so basically at some point during next year, at some point in 2024, we could end up seeing the price return up towards around $4,300 once again sometime next year. But obviously, considering the size of that move, it's very unlikely we will just go there in one straight line without experiencing any short-term pullback. So obviously expect some pullbacks along the way. That is very normal to see. And if we're taking a look at the daily time frame, of course, we also have a bearish divergence here for the price of ETH, also like the price of Bitcoin on the daily chart. But technically speaking, this potential bearish divergence has not really confirmed here on the daily ETH to US dollar chart, because we still need to actually cement this lower high in place in the RSI, which at least for now has not yet really happened. And so at least for now, we still need to see a little bit more confirmation for this potential bearish divergence before expecting a short-term cool-off within the bullish trend. But overall, of course, we're still looking more bullish than bearish, because the price structure is still bullish, forming higher lows and higher highs, and the momentum in the MACD is also still looking bullish. And so, like I said earlier, even if we do confirm this bearish divergence on the daily chart, once again, potentially over the next 1 to 2 weeks or so, we could see a break from that bullish trend, either a sideways consolidation or potentially a short-term pullback. But that does not necessarily mean the end of the bullish trend. It could just be a short-term pause from the trend before continuing the trend later on. And if we're taking a look at the 8-hour ETH to US dollar chart, obviously right now the price of ETH has gotten very close to the technical price target for the breakout from this previous ascending triangle pattern. Because at least as of right now, the price of ETH has gotten as high as around $2,400, and the technical price target is sitting at around $2,430. And so, like I said in my last video here on the channel just yesterday, I have already begun to take a lot of profits off the table for this breakout long position. So once again, I have already closed a lot of that long position around these local highs, which I mentioned yesterday. But at least for now, I am not closing 100% of that long position, so I still have some of that long position remaining open in case the price just continues further to the upside like it did with the Bitcoin trade. But essentially at this point, with entering that long position all the way back down here, of course, I have my stop loss well above my entry price sitting in profit. So in the worst case scenario, if we dump right now, that will automatically exit me out of the trade in profits. And once again, I've already taken a decent amount of profits off the table just for this specific leveraged long position right at around these local highs. And so congrats to those of you who did follow along with this breakout trade. Obviously, if you took this long position, you're in massive profits right now. But if you did actually miss this trade altogether, then do not worry. There's always more opportunities. So make sure you subscribe to this channel with notifications turned on so that you don't miss out on these major trading opportunities. And of course, in order to take these trades to begin with, you need to be set up ready to go. Have an account on an exchange like Bybit or Bitflex to get those extra bonuses with those links down below this video. But anyway, zooming further into the shorter term, looking at the 2-hour time frame, and right now the price of ETH is potentially repeating history. Because obviously, as I said in my last video, we do have a small bearish divergence on the 2-hour ETH to US dollar chart, with higher highs confirmed in the price and lower highs already confirmed here in the RSI. And so, like I said in my last video, we're due to see a bit of a short-term cool-off, basically a pause or a break from the bullish trend, but not necessarily a reversal out of the bullish trend into a bearish trend. Because once again, in terms of the price structure, we're still looking bullish. We're forming higher lows and higher highs on the daily chart, on the 8-hour chart, also on the 2-hour chart here, as you can see. But obviously, during a bullish trend, we can experience short-term pullbacks along the way, which is exactly what we have seen over the last one day. And we could continue to see that over the next one day. Once again, either a short-term pullback or potentially a sideways consolidation, basically just a pause from the bullish trend. And if you're taking a look at these previous bearish divergences on the 2-hour ETH to US dollar chart, at this first example right here, we did end up seeing a short-term pullback that lasted for around 3 days. And if you're looking at this second example, we saw a short-term pullback that lasted around 1.5 days before eventually continuing the bullish trend later on. And so far, this latest pullback just in the immediate short term has lasted for around 1 day already. And so once again, potentially over the next 1 day, we could continue to see the price just cool off before potentially continuing that bullish trend later on. But anyway, taking a look at the Solana chart on the 3-day time frame, and like I said just a couple of days ago here on the channel, right now the price of Solana is running into this important golden pocket. And in case you're new to this channel, the golden pocket is the most important Fibonacci area on the chart, sitting in between around $70 approximately, going up towards around $77. And so what we need to see is a 3-day candle close above $77 approximately in order to confirm a breakout above the golden pocket. And in that scenario, of course, the next Fibonacci level of resistance to the upside on the 3-day chart is sitting at around $120. But considering the price of Solana just completed the technical price target for this previous ascending triangle pattern, and considering the fact that once again we're running into critical resistance right now, which was previous supports back here and is also the most important Fibonacci level, basically it would not be surprising if we do see a small rejection or even just a consolidation in the short term before potentially breaking out at a later date. But overall, whether we see a short-term pullback or not, of course, in terms of the trend and momentum on the larger time frames, obviously we are still very much looking bullish. And if you're zooming into the daily time frame right now, like Bitcoin and ETH on the daily chart, the price of Solana is also forming a bearish divergence. Because at least for now, we have already confirmed higher highs in the price in the daily candle closes, but we have not yet fully confirmed this lower high in place in the daily Solana RSI. Because obviously right now, the RSI is still sitting very close to this line right here, which means if the price just goes a little bit higher, that could easily pull the RSI further to the upside. And in that case, if the RSI continues further to the upside, then obviously if we make higher highs above this previous high alongside higher highs in the price, then there would be no bearish divergence. And so basically, we still still need to see a little bit more confirmation here with some more red daily candle closes confirming in order to cement the lower high in place in the RSI. And once again, if that confirms, then it becomes very likely that at least over the next 1 to 2 weeks or so, we're going to see a bit of a pause from all of that extreme bullish price action, because obviously, once again, a bearish divergence means we're due to see reduced bullish momentum in the form of either choppy sideways price action, if not a pullback in the short term relative to the daily time frame, which is usually a couple of weeks or so. And as for potential support levels, we could find support at around $65.50, because we do have these previous daily candle closes and these previous wicks, and as we know, previous resistance can act as new support. But below $65.50, we also have some support at around $59.30, and we also have some more support at roughly around $54.60. But once again, even in that scenario, even in the case of a short-term cool-off in the price of Solana, once again, we're still technically remaining within the larger bullish trend. And if you want to know how you can easily profit from crypto, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or simply chopping around sideways, you can profit in either of those scenarios by watching these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how to make money if the price is bullish or bearish using AI, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that's everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.